Well, I saw the entire series, or first season. I don't know if they're going to do a second one or not. But anyway, of Spider Noir. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's got its problems. There's some things that seem a bit, I don't know, perhaps rushed or what have you. And there's some factors. You know, Nicolas Cage does a good job in it. I mean, he's channeling Jimmy Stewart and Humphrey Bogart, which, you know, you can understand it for the era it's trying to capture. And it looks amazing. They did a really good job. Looks expensive, yeah. But ultimately, story-wise, it was a bit lacking here and there. But it's the best Sony Spider-Man project they've had. Since the Tobey Maguire movies. I mean, it's even better than the first Venom movie, which is the only, Spider-Man movie with no Spider-Man. Here, you had a Spider-Man. He's an alternate universe Spider-Man, but, whatever. And there's some little elements in here and there that's interesting for Spider-Man fans that are in on the lore that maybe the average audience wouldn't catch on. There's an allusion to the fact that, he uses the name Ben Reilly, but it seems to insinuate, or it doesn't insinuate, it says that he changed his name. They don't mean that he changed his name to Spider-Man. They mean that he changed his actual legal name to Ben Reilly, which would indicate that his actual original name is Peter Parker. When he was, a soldier in World War I, they give a different story on the origin and all that sort of stuff. And there's some things they never really dealt with as to why his abilities. And that's the thing. There was this experiment in World War I, and all these guys came home, and they've all got these weird powers as a result of the experiments. But for the rest of them, it's slowly killing them. But it's not slowly killing Spider-Man. And the way they do it, now it's obvious, it's on screen as to how he gets the powers, because he was not one of the test subjects. And it's somewhat derivative from the guy who was actually experimented on. He bites him, and then suddenly he gets the spider powers and stuff like that. But, I guess it's elements like that. It's like the name, you catch that line and you realize, oh, he's actually Peter Parker. An alternate universe Peter Parker, but, And as far as, well, why would he choose the name Ben Reilly? Well, Ben, because of Ben Parker, Uncle Ben. But Riley was May Parker's maiden name. So those are the names that Ben Reilly chose, who was Spider-Man's clone. At a time, he thought he was the real Peter Parker or whatever. All that is a long-winded story in the comics. But nevertheless, that's why he picked that name. So same thing here. If I got to come up with a new name, let's see. And you pick those names. Based on, the only parents he knew. He doesn't really have much memory for his parents. So I guess the same thing happened. His original parents died, and he ended up being raised by his uncle and aunt and all that. So you can assume all that as well. That's in there. But nevertheless, the era that is very well captured for the most part. There's a couple of things that some of the choices in music and whatnot. But I'm interested in it because I'm kind of wondering, what else do you do? And I keep going back to this. I think they should do that with Batman. Put him in the 30s and 40s. And why stop there? Put the whole damn DC universe there. Put Superman there. Have a live-action Max Fleischer Superman. He's battling giant robots and all that sort of stuff, but it's in that era that he was born out of. And Batman could have a lot of the pulp action type stuff in it. And I think it would go very well. But anyway, as far as viewing it, they gave you the option of the color and black and white. Black and white is probably better. If for nothing else, it's that Nicolas Cage is really too old to play the role, but it doesn't show as bad in black and white. In the color version, well, he does a good job for the most part, and he does carry the show because as his position, he's the lead, and so on. But Yeah. It works better than no. The way I watched it was, the first episode I did in black and white, the second episode was color, and so on throughout the shows. And so it's up to you how you want to see it. The color, the way they did it, I think they increased the saturation to try to mimic Technicolor and stuff like that, and it kind of works. And so overall, all of that is it's pretty good. So now there's some things where they're very forgiving of some of the villains, and I'm like, no. I know he's got a hard luck story here and there, but you can't just let him walk away. It's some of the instances, and I'm like, now there's a romance there, and there's elements of it that's not all that believable. She's sympathetic to him for a bit, but she's really in love with someone else, and ultimately this leads to him using him and whatnot. He's suffered a tragedy, which I don't know in the trailers and stuff, and they do show the image of it. If you see it in color, everything's in green tone, and he had this woman that he was engaged to be married to, and she died, and he failed to save her. And he does say that it was a guy that he put away in his work as a private investigator. But there's no mention of him being named Osborn or anything like that, because of the green color. People thought, oh, is this this version of the Green Goblin of something of that nature? But they really didn't do that. Maybe they did mean to say, and the fiancée wasn't named Gwen Stacy or anything like that. So I don't know, but he suffered this tragedy, and pretty much gave up Spider-Man for a bit, and comes out of retirement for this case that's unfolding and what have you. But he's in a very bad spot in that instance. Now he meets this woman who's supposed to be their version of, Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat, and but she's a nightclub singer here and so on. So there's like, as soon as he sees her, he's attracted to her and that sort of thing. But I don't know. He's so down in the dumps, and I guess just because of he's suddenly feeling like that, and he hasn't in years. And so I guess you could argue that he's overtaken by it to where his better judgment just really isn't there. When he already knew about the feeling she had for this other man and so on. And suddenly she's decided, hey, let's run away together. And for her, it's, when she says, yeah, let's just run away together. At the time, it's a fleeting thing. She's really desperate and depressed herself due to the circumstances and that sort of thing. So there's elements there for its explanation, but I guess it needed more episodes or maybe more background. That this wasn't the first time they met. I don't know. It might not have worked if it wasn't the first time they met, because it's for him infatuation at first sight. I don't know about being in love at first sight, but nevertheless, he does get there. So, it's a bit shaky. But overall, it's a very entertaining series, and it's just for the choices of its style and time period and everything, it gives it a little something different. In some of the fights, most of them they're okay. There's one of the big ones they start off with is pretty lackluster, and I was like, "That's it." But they get better at it as they go. So there you go, Spider Noir. Will they do another? I don't know. It looked rather expensive. I think as far as streaming goes, and I don't know what the entire metrics are on that. It seemed to do very well for Amazon, so maybe they'll pursue another one. Maybe go further in the past and get a younger actor to play these early days. I don't know. But as one and done, it's not bad. So if you haven't seen it, do check it out. You might get a kick out of that. So there we go. Spider Noir. And easily the best Spider-Man project that Sony has done. in a very long time.